So today we're talking about procrastinating, why we do it, what you can put in place to conquer it. So on this channel, I'm only going to speak about things that I'm experienced in. And one thing I certainly have experience in fact, I'm an expert, is procrastination. I actually have a degree in it. I'm like the Muhammad Ali, the Michael Jordan, Bonnie Blue. For those of you who are hard of hearing or weren't paying attention, yes, we're talking about procrastination. So in 2025, it's never been so easy to procrastinate. And one of the biggest problems is you. No, not you, Dave. I'm actually pointing at my phone that I'm recording on. You know, these devices, as we all know, they're the biggest distractions. In fact, it's the biggest distraction since I was introduced to Backstreet Boys. So what does it mean to procrastinate? Well, according to the Cambridge Dictionary definition, to procrastinate is to keep delaying something that must be done, often because it's unpleasant or boring. I procrastinate a lot, or I used to procrastinate a lot, and it's generally around things that are not always boring and unpleasant. So to use this YouTube channel, for example, that I've started, you know, I've procrastinated around this. I don't find it boring. I don't find it unpleasant. I find it hard work, you know, but I enjoy it. For me, procrastination comes in many forms. That's certainly a big factor, you know, things that are boring, you're going to shy away from, you're going to put off, and certainly things that are unpleasant. Why would you want to throw yourself into something that is unpleasant? So that's the official definition from the Cambridge Dictionary. But let's talk about what it means in the real world. So let me use this YouTube channel for an example of how I procrastinate. So I had an idea of making this channel or starting this YouTube channel about 2.5 years ago. So I put the idea in place and I got a little bit excited, start watching YouTube videos about how to start a YouTube channel. And I started my channel in June 2024. So it took me 18 months to research, to put things in place, to kind of get some ideas. And then I started my channel. I released my first video in January 2025, 7 months later. So you don't have to be a maths specialist. You don't have to have gone to Cambridge University to calculate that. So 18 plus 7, 25 months to get it all in place. From the idea to releasing my first video. Why? Procrastination. So I just kept putting it off and off and off, you know. I've got this idea, let's put it in place. So what do I need? Tripod. So then I'm on Amazon. Tripods. Then I'll go to YouTube. Best tripod on Amazon. Research. Start reading comments. Oh, quite like this YouTuber. Then I'm looking at other videos that are not even relevant to tripods. So I've gone down a rabbit hole of searching for tripods. Next, right, I need some lights. Do I need lights or can I use natural light? I'm using natural light today. Right, I need some ring lights. Amazon, ring lights. YouTube, ring lights. So I'm watching numerous videos about ring lights, comparing them. See another video, oh, so-and-so's released another video about Chelsea Football Club. I love Chelsea. Eunice Talks Football, that's one of my favourite YouTubers. Eunice has released a new video. And now I'm down the rabbit hole of watching Chelsea videos. And that's how easy you can get thrown off if you're not focused and you start to procrastinate and do things that are not even that important. And it's never ending. You know, have I got the right camera? I've got the right niche? Is it the right subject that I want to talk about? What editing platform I'm going to use? You know, I'm going on to different editing platforms. I've never even recorded a video yet. So I'm looking at videos about how to reach 1,000 subscribers and I haven't even released the first video. So instead of doing all this research, instead of searching out which is the best tripod, I mean, I was only going to spend about 20 quid. They're all pretty much the same, all crap, flimsy plastic things. And what I should have been is, well, doing what I'm doing now, is recording a video, getting it out there. So why do we procrastinate? For me personally, I know it's different for everybody, it's 4 key areas, which is fear, friction, resistance, and ego. They're generally what I've pinpointed to the main reasons why I do procrastinate. So now that I know these 4 key areas, I can put things in place to counteract procrastination. I can put systems in place. I know what tools to use, and I'm more in tune with what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. Let's start with fear. So I'm going to use the YouTube scenario within this as well. So when it comes to fear, it's pretty obvious, you know, fear of putting yourself out there, fear of the unknown, you know, it's something new, you're stepping out your comfort zone. It's very natural to be fearful, out your comfort zone, and it's a scenario you're not familiar with, well, you're going to feel fear. So all I can suggest for fear, how I deal with it, is breathe, you know, take a deep breath, try and put things in perspective. If you have fear or anxiety over what you're about to do, or what you're attempting to do. Your fear alone is not going to hurt you. What's the worst that's going to happen in a scenario? But beyond that, we try and tune into positive mindset. What's the positive if I do this? So take a deep breath, face your fear. If it's a YouTube video, you need to just do it and put it into practice. And the more you practice, the more you do it, the less fearful you're going to be about it. Take a deep breath, take your time, talk about it, speak to people online if you don't want to speak to people around you, if you're scared. If you're fearful of telling the people around you that you've got fear of starting what you want to do, then reach out to people who are already doing it. Because someone who's not doing YouTube, or someone's not doing the goal that you want, how can potentially you seek advice of someone who's not done it themselves? There's a lot of small YouTube channels out there you can reach out to, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to give some advice or guidance. I'm happy to try and give some advice or guidance, so reach out to me. I'm not the biggest expert, and obviously I don't have the biggest channel. Check my view count and my subscribers, but we're on an upward trend, which is what it's all about. Think of your happy place. It's not going to hurt you. What's the worst that can happen? But what's the benefit? What's the benefit of doing this? And that satisfaction of stepping out your comfort zone, that'll conquer fear. I promise you. Once you feel that satisfaction, there's no going back. Right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is friction. Oh, by the way, I've had a nice little haircut. I hope you can tell. Looking a bit more fresh. Summer cut. So the next thing we're going to talk about is friction. Now, friction's probably the easiest one to overcome. Friction is basically something that's getting in the way of what you're trying to do. Using the YouTube example again from this morning. So basically, I was about to film this video, and when I went in the kitchen, the table that you would have seen in the first clip, there's clothes on there. I did some washing and folding, etc. I dumped it all on there. I was rushing around this morning getting my son ready for school, or helping him get ready for school, and I just left it all there. So the friction is every time I went in the kitchen, I saw this part of clothing. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go on video yet. So instead of making the video, I was going on to Google or watching other people's videos, procrastinating, basically, looking for video ideas, or, just wasting time. So it's trying to see where that friction is in your life and what it is you're trying to do. That was a simple example of when I'm trying to make a YouTube video. So that was my friction. Recording a video this morning, there was stuff in my way. That was getting into my mindset, stopped me or delayed me recording a video. Yours might be something different. It might be the fact you want to get up early. It might be the fact that you want to join the gym, or you want to get fit, but the closest gym is miles away and you haven't got that time to travel. Or it's too expensive. So how else can we get fit? Can we go for walks? That's free. Can we go running? Can we utilize a home workout? Can we investigate that? How you can use your own body weight? Can we invest and save up and buy some cheaper weights online, resistant bands? So it's trying to find a way around the friction. What's stopping us? Getting up in the morning, what's the issue there? How can we make life a bit easier? Getting up in the morning. Are we going to set up the night before, make sure everything's prepared? We're going to go to bed earlier. We're going to set the alarm and put the phone on the other side of the room so we don't snooze. So we have to physically get up and get the phone and turn it off. To cut it simple, what is the friction? What is it stopping me doing? And how can I remove that friction? And once you remove that friction out of your life, it'll make your goal, or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, so much more easier. So next we're going to talk about resistance. So what is resistance? Resistance is that negative force inside of you that actively tries to stop you doing the things that you want to do. It's very clever. It doesn't stop you playing Xbox. It doesn't stop you watching TV. It doesn't stop you eating cakes. It doesn't stop you lying on the couch binge watching your favorite series. It really steps in as when you're trying to step out your comfort zone. So if you're trying to do something creative, you're trying to start a YouTube channel, you're trying to start a small business, you want to go running, you want to start a fitness goal, that's when resistance really feeds and really kicks in. It works alongside fear. So fear and resistance work really well together. So the more fearful you are, the more that fuels resistance. So the more you're resistant to do it, and it just works in a big cycle. So the more resistant you are, the more fearful you get, and it builds and builds and builds. So what we need to try and do is overcome that resistance. There's two types. So there's the small resistance. So the small resistance is things like, you can't be bothered to go and wash the pots, or your body's telling you don't want to go and wash the pots. You don't want to cut the grass. You don't want to paint the fence. You don't want to tidy the house, or whatever it may be. But then there's the bigger resistance. This is when it really kicks in, is when you're trying to step outside your comfort zone, something that's away from the norm of your everyday life. That's when resistance really grabs hold. So how can we overcome that? Well, we can overcome that by relabeling ourselves. Relabel yourself a professional and not a noob. You probably don't know what a noob is. You're not as cool as me or down with the youth, but a noob, for those people who are not very cool, that means amateur. So if you are a noob, re-identify yourself. You know, this is what I do. I'm a runner. I'm someone who gets up early. I'm a YouTuber. You know, whatever it may be, that's who you are from now on, and that's how you're overcome the resistance. You build it in your brain like it's a job. So when you've got a job, you know, you just do not turn up for your job. You know, you're professional. It's a bit windy here. You're professional. You know, you do what's required of you. You owe that to yourself to do it for yourself. So whatever you want to achieve, that's how you're going to treat it. You know, this is when I'm going to start. This is when I'm going to finish. This is how I'm going to get the best results. And the more and more you build that, and the more and more you re-identify yourself as that kind of person, or that's what I do, and label yourself that each and every day, yeah, then it's going to change your mindset. It's going to lower that resistance, and it's just going to be a part of everyday life. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. It's not going to be easy, so it's going to be hard to start off with, but the more you build, you'll have less fear. So if there's less fear, there's less to fuel the resistance. So I'm trying, not perfect at it yet, but certainly to try it yourself. Like I say, to keep it simple, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you know, label yourself that I'm a professional at this. This is what I do. An amateur's going to fall at the first hurdle. An amateur's going to go into it nervous. They're going to go into it apprehensive. They're going to have anxiety. We're experienced. We know what we're doing. We're professionals. We ain't going to feel that. We're not going to take on that criticism. We're not going to be scared of what people think. You know, we're going to step out of comfort zones, and we're going to do this because we're professionals. Build on it every day, and you'll find the resistance will slowly disappear. So we spoke about fear, we spoke about friction, we spoke about resistance. So what brings it all together is your ego. So your ego is your sense of own self-worth. So people have a big ego, people have low self-esteem. And there's some people in the middle as well. So someone who has a big ego, you know, they're always wanting to be right, sensitive to criticism, arrogant, so they're arrogant in their thinking, they're arrogant in their behaviour. They can be very defensive, they're very entitled, so they have an over sense of entitlement. And to be fair, they idolise themselves. So, you know, people with big egos generally love themselves. For my interactions with people with big egos, is they do have a lack of empathy as well. And they're always seeking attention. But then there's people who have low self-esteem. So that's like kind of the opposite of a big ego. So you might find you relate to some of these things. So someone with low self-esteem have negative self-talk. So, you know, you're always talking that bad about yourself, you know, the way you look, the way you feel, you know, even wanting to step out your comfort zone and try, you know, it's never going to work. You know, I'm not good enough. Always want to please others. So you find this with children, you find it with adults, especially in the working environment. You know, there's always that a person who always wants to please other people. So it's a big trait of someone who's got low self-esteem. Or they might just be very helpful. Fear of failure, it's another big one. People with low self-esteem are always comparing themselves to others as well. Whatever it may be, like runners, you might start your couch to 5K, or YouTubers, you know, you're looking at these big YouTubers who've got millions of followers. The worst thing you can do is compare yourself to those. One of the big ones is something that I personally do suffer with, and that's anxiety. So that's a sign of low self-esteem. People who have low self-esteem, the anxiety levels are going to be much higher than obviously someone who's on the higher end with the big ego. Right, so now we know some of the traits of having a big ego and having low self-esteem. How do we kind of overcome that? What can we put in place that can bring our ego down a little bit or push our self-esteem up? One of the things that I've tried to do to keep my ego in check is I do try not to compare myself to others. So whether that's in the workplace, whether that's with my business, whether that's on YouTube, you know, I follow a lot of YouTubers and I take pieces and I take information, I learn from it, but I've learned not to compare myself to others because they're on different paths. You know, some of these ones who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you know, they've been through it all and they've learned and they've worked their way up there. You know, it's not like they've just turned the phone on and all the camera on and it's instant. So they've done the grind. So I've learned not to compare myself to those people. I've learned to gain information, valuable information, and learn from them, study them. And that's number 2 as well. Always be the student. People with big egos, and this is where they're going to struggle, is they feel they can't learn. They're procrastinating, but they feel they can't learn other ways or take any advice or guidance on how to overcome procrastination. And try and be in situations where you're the least knowledgeable person. So I feel like that quite often, and I learn a lot. So when I'm at meetings at work, or when I'm learning YouTube and I'm in the forums or I'm on Facebook in the groups, I feel like I'm potentially one of the least knowledgeable people in there. And I kind of let myself open up to that and open up to learn and take advice and take guidance, where someone with a big ego may not do that, so potentially you're not going to grow. Where someone with a slightly lower self-esteem, you can always learn and take more information and bring that up. So yeah, try and be around people who are more intelligent than you, in that field anyway. If you want to learn a new fitness goal, depending on what it is, running, spend a lot of time around runners, communicate with runners, go on forums, watch YouTube videos, and you'll soon pick it up and soon learn. Another thing is kind of be open and versatile. So kind of surrender your need for being in control all the time. So, someone with a big ego might feel like this is the only way we're going to do it. It's my way or no other way. I think you've got to be flexible, especially if you're stepping outside your comfort zone. There's no right or wrong way. It's not a one shoe fits all world. Whatever your goal is, try and be versatile, try and think outside the box. You can just take the handbrake off a little bit and just let yourself go. And the last one, I think, is just don't be too hard on yourself. Stop beating yourself up. You're doing your best. I really want you to take care of yourself, and don't take too much value from other people's opinions, whether bad or good. Take it on board, reflect on it, but just keep on the path that you're on. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you found things that you can put in place that may help to overcome procrastination. If there's anything else that I haven't covered that you think would be benefit to others, please put them into the comments. We want to share and help each other. I don't normally ask, but I'd be forever grateful if you have enjoyed the video and you have got some value from it. Will you please just hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel? It really does help me out. I'm on my own journey as well, and I'm trying to grow this to help other people, and I'd really appreciate your support. I'm forever grateful for everyone who does watch and who has subscribed already, so thank you so much for that. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it at there, and we'll see you at the next one.